Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with some more Secrets to the Universe. This one is going to venture heavily into the land of the anecdotal, and if you're not comfortable with that, this would be the time to not be here. We're going to be talking about energy manipulation today. We're going to be talking about pulling and pushing energy. I've talked an awful lot before about it, but never about what it is and how to do it. And so we're going to try to do that today. There are not an incredible amount of resources on this anywhere, and it is something that has traditionally been passed on from master to student, like throughout history. And there's a reason for that, but I think that we are at the point where it's about to get pretty critical. Like, if you're not aware of this coming Saturday and the things around that, there are a lot of signs pointing to that. And if it's not this month, then it's probably not ever. But it's a little bit weird out there. And so I'm going to try and get this, at least this out before anything could possibly happen. I'm hoping, praying, and wishing that we get on the other side of this and it's, all good, but I don't know. Anyway, what is energy? It is what makes us. We are the energy in our body. We are the magnetic force that holds our body together. I've got two magnets here. You can feel the attraction of the magnets if you hold them like this, but if you take one and you spin it the other way, you can feel the repulsion of the magnets. The feeling of the repulsion of the magnets, to me, is the closest to what I do whenever I'm moving energy throughout my body. Throughout history, the energy has been called many different things. It's been called prana, chi, the spirit, whatever it happens to be, but it is what comprises the you that rides inside the meat suit. The meat suit is not you. You are the spirit or the prana or the chi inside of it. And through intentionality and focus and meditation, you can learn to manipulate those things. Something that needs to be said before we start talking about it, we're going to swap over to this graphic. It is not mine. And I can't even see who it is down here because I've got a pop-up down here. But this is just to show the location, so I got something to point at. This really doesn't have your particular center. The you who you are resides in one of these locations. And that is, for the most part, excluding the divine. This graphic's okay for this because it doesn't show the divine, but you don't reside there most of the time anyway, more than likely. Most people reside in the bottom half, some as high as the heart. Very few reside this high without intentionality. In order to figure out where you reside, you need to learn to recognize the energy. Now, this is purely anecdotal, and I'm going to talk about how I have come to recognize the energy inside of myself. Through retrospection and meditative practices, I've learned that that energy was there my whole life, and that it was outside of my control for most of my life, but that I have been pulled into these energy centers before. Most people, sorry, gotta bring it up. Most people have not had the experience of life or death, but some of us have. And so if you are one of the people who have had the experience of your life in mortal danger, that feeling that it feels like you're sucked down into your hip section, and that everything pivots around that point. You can get this like if you've been in a fight or outnumbered in a fight, especially. I've found myself that the more people, the more I pull into that base, and so you feel almost outside of yourself, but you feel very low, very centered, and very paying attention to how do I come out of this alive. That is you residing in your root chakra. Most people do not reside there all of the time, but some people do. People who have lived through extremely abusive situations, people who are in PTSD situations, they tend to cluster around the base. It is hard for them to pull out into the other energy centers because the trauma is so impactful upon their energy that it keeps them pushed down. A better majority of people stay centered around their sacral chakra. You see this a lot with sexual addiction. If you have ever been extremely attracted to someone, now I'm not going to try and get into what your sexual practices may be, but if you have been extremely attracted to someone else and you knew that tonight was the night, and that not only was tonight the night, but like in the next couple of minutes, you get focused in a way that pulls down towards your hips, and you're very much energetically just a little bit forward in that area because you are trying to attract that person into the consummation of the energy transfer. But that is the sacral chakra, the residing in the sexual energy. Like you are fully immersed in that moment at that moment. Now, the more you become acquainted with that person, it tends to pull you less into that area. So it's normally like a fresh relationship. You can, however, bring yourself down into that to help with your relationship. If it's not gotten a little bit bland, then you pull down into that area, and then you can spice things up a little bit. The solar plexus, this is another one where people tend to stay, is the hunger, the sustenance. If you've ever been really hungry, like you've missed a few meals for a few days, and it feels like your stomach's chewing on your backbone, all you can think about, all of your energy, everything that you're worried about is getting the next meal. That is staying held in your solar plexus chakra. That is where you are craving the sustenance that comes from food, from physical food. And so that feeling of my whole existence is there. That's what we're pointing at. Like the reason I'm going through these like this is so that you can see and maybe relate to one of them and remember that feeling, because I can't give you the feeling. But if you've been in this situation, you know what I'm talking about at least a little bit. And if you spend time meditating on that, you can feel it. For the heart, this is the love connection. This is beyond the sexual connection. The sexual connection is one thing, but the craving of the love is a whole different thing. This is you crushing, right? This isn't we're about to have sex. This person doesn't even know I'm alive, but I absolutely adore them. This is the crush. Or this person does know that you're alive and they return the affection and you're still crushing. But that feeling, that overwhelming feeling of love for this one person that focuses your whole being into your chest, and it feels like your heart is almost too big to fit. That is it trying to connect. That is the magnetic energy flow between the two peoples. And you're probably not in control of that yet, but you can be, and that attraction is part of manifestation. The throat is a little bit more difficult. When you get up to the top three, you're less likely to be into this. But the throat chakra, I'm not even sure that I have a full solid example that I can give of the throat, but it is a communication, a desire. Here's a good one. If you've ever been completely misunderstood in a situation, like you said something and you meant this, and then everybody around you takes it for this. When they take it for that, you get disoriented. You're like, whoa, wait, what? No, that is absolutely not what I meant. That is you focusing in your throat. That's probably the best I could do as far as the descriptor for that. But that is you being pulled into your throat to try to rectify that misunderstanding. Now, the third eye is if you're in a dangerous situation. This one I've been pulled into a few times. And you become hyper aware of your surroundings, right? This is another one with the fighting type of situation. This is the opposite side of that, actually. And this is less of a immediate, I am about to die right now, and more of a, wait, I might die in a minute. And like you're walking through the woods at night and you hear a panther squall over this way, and all of a sudden you hear everything. You can hear crickets, rustling leaves 400 feet that way. You are very much aware of your entire surroundings. The colors become more vivid. You see shadows moving. All of these things as you focusing into your foresight ability through the third eye. Because that is what your third eye does. It just sees forward into the future for you to help you avoid this type of situation. The crown chakra this is another difficult one because I haven't been into it as many times, but I have. And this one is really, really purely anecdotal because if you have not had this experience, you will not know what I'm talking about. But when I said the prayer of salvation in the church, and I went forward to the altar and I said the prayer of salvation, I was pulled into my crown chakra. That was an acceptance of the divine by the mortal. There have been other experiences separate from being in the church that have revealed the same thing to me. In meditative practices, when I was carried in the hand of the divine through the entirety of the universe and I saw how things are, work, and the mechanics of everything, that was a crown chakra experience. That was a receiving of the divine to myself. And then finally, we get to the divine. And that's not signified here because most people, almost all people, have not been here. But some of us have. And so that is the out-of-body experience. That is the disconnection of your soul from the flesh suit completely. That is you standing outside of you, looking at you, doing things that you are not in control of. If you have had that experience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you have not had that experience, you're like, this dude is so full of shit. But it is a real thing. It happens all the time. And despite the fact that it happens all the time, it happens to a very, very tiny bit of people because it is not the run-of-the-mill normal experience. But it is something that you can do outside of the emergency situation. All right, now that we've talked about that, how can we recognize the energy? There are meditative practices that are good for helping you with this. The chi and the prana work helps you with this, but I'm going to try and do it from a different angle because I have aphantasia. If you're unaware what aphantasia is, it is the inability to visualize anything in your mind. I cannot close my eyes and visualize anything. I can't picture a piece of grass, a box. I can't picture if I'm looking at this screen right now, this whole screen right now. And if I close my eyes, I cannot picture that. But as an aphantasic, I don't know if this is exclusive to me because I don't know anybody personally who also has this problem. But I know what the things are. Right? I know I can't tell you that there's a black border from a picture in my mind, but I know that there is a black border. I know the layout of my living room, 3 rooms over that way, so that I know where every piece of furniture is, but I cannot picture that. I just know. It is an innate knowing of the position of things. And that is where I operate from on a meditative experience. Once I became aware of what aphantasia was, and then not everybody did that. Like I got in trouble in 3rd grade because I told my teacher I couldn't picture. We were supposed to picture something, and I told my teacher I couldn't do it. And so I got in trouble for that. Like I literally got in trouble for something that I had no control over, and just being honest about it. So I learned to lie in 3rd grade about that, and so I just played along to get along. And it took me being an adult and learning that other people had that to understand that that is a thing. And so if you have that problem and you have never heard of that before, if you can't picture anything, I got something for you. Other people have this superpower where they can visualize things. And that is an immense help in meditation. But it is also a hindrance because you can picture something. You can fool yourself into believing that the things that you see are from you and not from outside source. I don't have that problem. If I see something with my eyes closed, I know it's not me doing it. And so when I have had revelations, and I have had revelations, both in meditative practices and without, uh, then I don't have to doubt it because I know that it was not me. Now, I say all of that to say this. When I do my meditative practices, I visualize. And when I say visualize, it is a knowing. I know the feeling, right? And how I started with it was this. In my meditative practices, when everybody else is taking stairs down into their house that they built, or going down to the seashore where the waves are crashing and watching the waves come in, and all of these relaxing things that other people can do, I do something else that I just recently learned that not everybody can do. I unfocus. Now, what is unfocusing? If you've ever looked at one of those 3D images, right? They were really big when I was young. Like in the early 90s, they were everywhere. Like they had whole stores devoted to these pictures. And if you would have to put it up to your nose and then slowly pull it back, right? Well, I never had to do that. I could walk up just like this, and it is just over arm's reach, right? And I could just unfocus my eyes and it would pop out at me within seconds. And like my cousin would get mad at me, and I was like, "You're just not doing it right." Well, not everybody can do that, but I can. Maybe it's part of the aphantasia. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I can sit here and look at this camera and then unfocus behind it. I can just do that. I can unfocus. So when my eyes are closed, I can unfocus in the same manner without seeing anything. And when I unfocus, it's like a disengagement inside myself. Part of the meditative practice is that when you start is dealing with breath work. Breath work is very important because breath work achieves a few different things. One, it hyperoxygenates the body. That helps to induce the state of euphoria. The state of euphoria helps you to relax into the meditative practice and to trust the session and what is going on. So it is important that you do the breath work, the full, complete breaths. Fill your lungs all the way up. Empty them all the way out. Hyperoxygenate your body. That's what you're doing. Do it safely. Do it carefully. Be careful because you can fall down and pass out if you try to do that while you're standing up. Somebody's going to try to do that standing up. I'm telling you now, don't do that. Sit. This pose right here is a little bit excessive. I don't do all that. I lay down. But I can unfocus and meditate now without the breath exercises in the way while walking. I can do that by unfocusing. The second thing that it does is it helps you to visualize the intake and the outtake, and the concentration removes your consciousness from your body. A lot of meditative practices will tell you to start focusing in your feet, right? And clench your toes and release them. And as you release them, let them go and not worry about them no more. And then you move to the soles of your feet, and then your ankles, and then you're all the way up, all the way up. I don't have to do all of that. I can disengage before that. But the point of that is to disengage you from your body. It is to let your consciousness know, okay, I don't need to worry about my toes anymore. Okay, I don't need to worry about the soles of my feet anymore. Okay, I don't need to worry about my ankles no more. And as you're breathing and you're hyperoxygenating and you get in that euphoria, you're less focusing on your body, and it allows your spirit to disengage from the meat suit. The next way that I learned to identify it was through my own pulse. As I'm laying there, right, I'm disengaging and unfocusing, but I can't picture anything. So what I do is I feel my pulse in my body. Because you're breathing so deeply and you're becoming disengaged, you can feel the pulse of your own heart in your body. And what it feels like to me when I do that is this. It's the backwards when they're pushing against each other. And you can direct that through meditative practices. That is the pulling of energy. When you feel that, when you can recognize the push of your own magnetic field, which to me, whenever my pulse, like whenever the flow out feels, I can feel it filling my veins, right? I can feel it pushing the life force into my pinky, like into the farthest extremities, the ears, and you can feel the energetic push. Well, then once you can feel that energetic push, you can focus it. Then you pull on it, then you work on the pull in. Now, for my breath works, I do a specific thing, and I found with this specific thing that it helps me to get this right. And we're going to look at this graphic real quick. This look familiar? This is the infinity sign. This is 8. This is the number of life. But if you stand this on your head, and I can't do it in this program, but if you stand at 90 degrees, right, and you superimpose that on yourself lengthways, across like this, so where it goes up, down, and around. Whenever I breathe in through my nose, I start at a point here, and then I pull the breath itself. You can feel it come through your nose, right? You can feel it into your sinuses. Well, I take that energy and I attach it to the breath. And as I pull up through my sinuses, I drag it all the way up through my crown. Now, obviously, the breath itself does not reach the top of my head. It goes through my sinuses. But the energy flow, I use it kind of like a scraper. And I scoop all the darkness and all the negativity and all the non-positive from me. And I start here, and then I drag it around and back through the back of my head, through the pineal gland, which is, if you go between your ears and you go between your eyes, that point is the pineal gland. And if you take that and you scrape it through the pineal gland, and then when you come down through this point right here, this is the throat. You're going to cross over to the front in the throat, and then pull it through the front side of the heart, down through the sacral, underneath the base, back around the back side of the sacral, across the back side of the heart, back through the throat, and then out. That is my full meditative breathing. I don't do the hold. I don't do all of that anymore. I do a continuous flow breath exercise. I pull in all the way, my lungs full all the way, chest expanded, head back all the way, and then let it go. As soon as you fill up all the way, push all of that negativity out of your mouth. Breathe out of your mouth all the way. If you do this in a continuous flow, it will not take you long to disengage. You get hyperoxygenated quite quickly. There are points in time when you will need some of the other breathing exercises. The hold is a good exercise to work on later. A lot of people jump into that way too quick, but it's because they've been taught that way. You do not take what I am saying as the only way to achieve these things. I am only trying to help you to understand my understanding of it. We are all very, very tiny, like infinitesimally tiny bits of the divine. And we all are the energy that resides within us. That is who you are. You are the energy that makes up the whole of you're what holds together the flesh suit. The flesh suit is not you. Whenever this goes away, you will still exist. Now, I'm not going to get into theological debates on what happens after, but I can tell you this. If the soul is eternal, then it had to be somewhere before. My personal belief is that we have contracts that we make. You can call them sacred contracts. That's how I first came into the idea. But you agreed to certain trials, and you agreed to certain problems and certain blessings throughout your life. And how you react to those things is part of your divine soul's path. The meditative practices will help you to focus your energy in order to align with that path. Now, what you need to do is figure out where in this stack you reside, because you reside somewhere, and it is probably here. It may be here. Some people are very, very loving, and they just want to attract and attach and like with whoever. But most people are either it most people, it is the sustenance. They are on the grind. This is where the grind is focused, right here. Like it encompasses all three of these, but this little yellow ball is the grind. That is all you are thinking about is the worldly things, and all you are thinking about is accumulating them. That is most people. That you see a lot of the misaligned sexual energy out there now. When you get into these situations where people are confused about a lot of different things, that is a living in the sexual energy issue. A lot of people thinking about it are focused here on the throat as well, because they are very much about the wrong side of that. Like sometimes even I forget that everything is a duality. Like every bit of this, like the crown has a duality. The third eye has a duality. The throat has a duality, and it is seeing forward. For the third eye, you're either seeing forward towards positive outcomes or you're seeing forward towards negative outcomes. That is the duality of the third eye. Well, the throat is either you're lifting up people or you're pushing down people. And you see a lot of that out there today, too. From both sides of any particular spectrum that you want to talk about. There are people that are using their throat wrong. So it does seem that there may be, that just came to me, but yeah, there could be a great deal. Now, there's not a whole lot of people, like the third eye, if you're stuck in your third eye and you're living there, then you're like paranoia. Like that's medicated level paranoia. That is always looking for the forward idea and never living in the moment. We are meant to stay here. The heart that holds us together is where we are meant to reside as a soul. We are meant to reside in our heart. There are several beliefs that hold that the heart has three separate chakras of its own. Like there's a upper, a lower, and a middle. I don't know about all that. I think that the heart is itself. I think that the whole unit operates as one. But that is where we are meant to be as people. We are meant to be loving, helping people. Now, a lot of people misalign it. They are the opposite of that, right? It's a dipole. So where you're meant to be loving and happy, then you're, selfish and not. And that is the dipole of the heart. But you're meant to stay in the state of love. And if you do, that is where enlightenment lives. Right? You can become enlightened in a single experience that has happened. I can attest to that. But the evolution of your enlightenment, it is one thing to understand that there is gravity, but it is another thing to understand why gravity works, right? Well, it's the same with this. It's one thing to understand and to even experience the divine experience or the out-of-body experience, and you can still not reconcile that with the mortal and what you understand. We are meant to help other people. We are meant to keep our focus in our heart. And through intentionality and meditative practices and prayer, like always with the grace of God, don't ever get that twisted. I believe that all things come through the grace of God that we are a tiny part of. And part of the multiverse is, like when you are manifesting your multiverse, pulling yourself through the chakras will bring that into existence, right? Because if you're living in the wrong part, you can't manifest the thing that you need. So you need to be able to move freely, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I can to a great degree, completely disengage myself from my body willfully. I can see forward. I can love other people. I can give sustenance as well as receive it. I can focus my sexual energy in the correct manner. I can focus my base energy in the correct manner. But that is only through hard work and meditation. Now, let's get into the pulling of energy. Whenever you start this, you're going to want to start at the root, at the base. You want the demon to be taken care of first. And so, doing your meditative practices, you want to consciously push, like once you can recognize your consciousness, which is a whole, you're not going to do that in a day. Like, you may, and don't ever take what I say to be absolute, but you may be able to do it in a day, but chances are it's going to take you a little while to be able to recognize the pulse, to be able to push the pulse where you want it. It's going to take some work. But when you can, and you're doing your meditation and you decide, okay, today we work root, what you want to do is you're going to do your breathing practices and get to the point of disengagement. You're going to get to the point where your consciousness is disengaged. And then you are going to focus it. You do that by literally thinking about the spot. Now, other people can tell you to visualize, and that can probably work if you can visualize. But what I have to do, because I am different, I can't visualize a glowing ball, right? But if you can visualize, then you visualize this right here without the white spot. You want red. You want a clear, pure red. If it's pink, you're misaligned between your root and the divine. If it is slightly orange, you're misaligned between your root and your sacral. And the others, it is possible to engage root and crown, but the magnitude order is greater. Every step away from each is a magnitude of difference. So it is extremely unlikely that your root and your crown are going to be your influence. It is more likely that your root and your sacral will be your influence, or that your solar plexus and your heart will be your influence. You're going to push it into the root, and you're going to visualize the glowing red ball. But for me, what I have to do is, when I close my eye, I get static. It's like looking at what used to be on the TV after midnight, right? Nothing but white noise. But through my meditative practices and intentionality, I can change the slightest thing about that. I can do that much. I can turn it clear. I can go from static of black and white to either black or white. And when I am focused in my root, I push it white. I can't push it red. I can't visualize the color. But I push it white. And when I push it white, while I am pushing it white, I focus on my SI. I am an SI demon, which means that I have a very hard time remembering things and making lists and completing tasks and organizing the actual things. If you could look at my desk, it is a mess, but this is my messy spot. I keep my house all right. But I focus specifically on that and what I can improve in that in order to improve my life. How can I better organize myself to go forward? Where am I missing my organization? What is biting me in the ass because I am not taking care of it in the manner that I need to be? And while I am doing that, I am clearing the screen. And when I clear the screen and I identify the problems, then the area is clear. And then after a week of doing that, and really, you're going to have a tendency to want to skip. You're going to have a tendency to want to just gloss over it. Okay, I've done this one time. I understand what's going on. I got this. No, you don't. Spend time in it. At least a week. Just on the one side. Don't even try to move any energy anywhere else. Only push it into your root. Only focus on your root. And then take active steps in your root. If you have a problem staying organized, get a calendar and fill it out. Put in there exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. Make yourself lists. Make yourself sit down and make lists. I know you hate it. I hate it too. Now, your particular point in the stack is going to be different from mine. 1 in a 32 chance, right? There's 32 types. So there's a 1 in 32 chance that we align in the same way, especially in the bottom four. Or well, not in the bottom four, but the throat and the heart and the sacral and the root, right? The third eye and the throat and the sacral and the root. They're interchangeable depending on your type. Anyway, so there's a 1 in 32 chance that you're going to align with where I'm at. But there's also, like, you could be a TE, and you need to focus on where you are ignoring what other people are saying. Right? Or you could be a TI, and you are not paying attention to your own logical going forth. Wherever you happen to be in the stack is what you need to focus on for that spot. So if you are a root SE, then you are missing some things. Like, you are missing actual facts. You are missing actual physical things that have happened in the recent past. And it goes the same all the way up. Once you clear your root, then you pull up into your sacral, and then you focus on where your specific deficiency is in that. I don't really like using deficiency because it's not a deficiency. You use all of these to varying degrees all the time. Too many people in MBTI tend to get caught up in the first four, and they're like, that's all there is to it. I'm an INFJ. I do this way. No, dumbass, that's not how it works. Yes, you're an INFJ, so you tend to focus on these things. But you also tend to focus on the bottom because you're not healthy. And if you're not healthy, then you're living in the bottom. Well, as you pull yourself up and through, and you're clearing, and you're getting things right, the more aligned your life will become. The more you're able to pull into your life the correct things that you want. You need to take the time. I recommend at least a week for each point along the way. If you are not 100% sure that you're doing it the correct manner, then, like, if you're not sure that you are clear in your root, then you're not clear in your root. And there is something else that's bothering you. There's something else that's holding you back. Don't try to rush it. Rushing it is the worst thing you can do. The absolute worst thing you can do. Because if you are wrong, right? If you are wrong about having your root and your sacral aligned, per se, but you're good on your solar plexus and your heart, and then you pull up into your throat, and then into your third eye. Well, this is where manifestation starts really happening. Whenever you get pulled up into at least the third eye, preferably the crown or even the divine, that is when you can start working with manifestation in a positive manner. Once you have aligned your baser instincts, the bottom four parts of your stack, then the top part starts aligning itself. You still have to put in the work. It is easier to align the top part. You're going to be, take for instance, I'm an NI divine. It is going to be really easy for me to get to the top of my stack and to identify paths going forward flawlessly, as long as I am taking into account all of these things. It's not going to be a difficult step for me. People who are SE divine are not going to have a problem if they're a mechanic fixing whatever, right? They're already naturally more aligned for that. Now, if you are focused down here, then you are using these for the wrong reasons. And that is where the misalignment comes up here. Is because you are off down here, you up here are using it for the wrong reasons. That's why I say wait until you get at least up here. But it really is better before you try to intentionally manifest to be at the crown or divine. Those are your strongest points. You are aligned in your intentions and you are aligned in your resources from here. And so then it makes manifestation happen in a positive manner without the ramifications that can come from misintention. Misintention will hurt you. If you are down here and you are trying to pull in a sexual partner, right? Because that is where this energy is focused. That is what you are focused on. And if you put
the effort and intentionality into pulling in your sexual partner here, and then you're pulling the wrong one more than likely. What's going to happen is you're going to wind up divorced, or you're going to wind up fighting, or you're going to wind up completely incompatible 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. That's where you get people that have been married for 10 years and then they break up and you're like, what happened? Like, we just didn't get along. Or we just, like, even without physical altercations, if you don't align, if you're not pulling the correct energy, then you're pulling the wrong energy. That's why we have as many troubles and trials as we do. One last thing before we break out of this is your choice in a partner makes a big difference. If you are soul committed to someone, which is what a marriage is, that's what a sexual partnership is an interchange of souls. Whenever you engage in sexual congress, you are exchanging pieces of soul. You are accepting a piece of hers and giving her a piece of yours, or vice versa. And so the person that you choose to do that with makes a big difference, like an enormous difference on where you will line up. If you are aligned with someone who is opposed to your own personal goals, you've got a serious problem. Like, I'm never going to tell somebody, oh, you should get divorced. I always think that there needs to be work done. Always. That is why you're together in the first place, because you agreed to help each other work on things. But glossing over the issue and not paying attention that you are misaligned is going to produce terrible results for you. If you are focused on this one goal and they are focused on this other goal, neither goal is going to manifest. But if the two of you together, using the combined energy that you are creating through your Congress, can align in a single goal, then it doesn't have a choice but to appear, because you are both manifesting it into your life. That is why we talked about writing down what you want to happen and vocalizing it, because you're spelling it and creating it by doing that, right? When you write it down, you create a permanence to it. But when you speak it, you create the actual vibration of change. So the two are necessary. Do that together. If you are part of a partnership, and here's where I really hesitate to say this, but it needs to be said, so I have to say it. If you are trying to align to this, and they are opposed to this, then you have a very serious problem. Because even if you align correctly, if they are opposed, it's creating the magnetic opposite, and it is misaligning you. It is going to cause you emotional distress to be misaligned in that way. It's going to happen. That is why I always talk about being honest and forthright about everything. Like, if you're dealing with something like this, your partner really should know about it. All right, I think I have hit everything that I needed to hit on that. I think we did all right. If you have questions or comments, leave them down below. If I didn't explain something well enough, leave it down below. If you'd like something more detailed, leave it down below. I look forward to your comments, because then I know where I need to go with things. Next, we will be going into the type specific stuff. Like, this is very hard for me because I got to create a lot of graphics, and I'm an SI demon. So I'm going to have to create the graphics to go forward with all of that. So I'm going to try and put out 1 or 2 of those a day, depending on how my voice holds up. I'm really concerned that I have been farting around too long. Like, I know that everything happens in divine timing, right? And I don't get anxiety much anymore. Like, I do see things and I'm like, yeah, that's probably going to happen, but I don't get anxious about them. Today, I achieved an anxiety level that I haven't in a very long time, and it was because I watched a video. Barry Scarborough pointed out some things today about the leader of one of the religious institutions and how he made a speech 7 years ago, the 25th. And if you paid attention when I did the other video on the other channel, which if you're here at this point, you probably have seen that, I've always looked towards September, right? This is my month of fulfillment. This is what I feel like when the things pop off, this is when I feel like it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen to September, it doesn't mean it can't happen in October or November or December or whenever. But I feel like historically, back through time, September holds some ramifications. Specifically, the area between the 11th and 25th or the 26th. Specifically, now, because of what the German ambassador said the other day in the address regarding the day before that and how everybody's going to remember things, right? Well, exactly 7 years ago on the 25th, the Pope gave us, I should not have said that, but the leader of the religious institution gave a speech talking about how he's coming in his own name. And that's significant. I also had my dream, right? And we're coming upon the time when, if it is a real thing, then we will start seeing the signs that it is a real thing. And I'm very anxious about the 24th and the 25th of this month. That is not anxiety beyond despair. That is just, I'm on heightened alert for these days. And once we get into October, I won't, if we make it through September, everything's going to be okay. To misquote a song. And I'm very concerned. Keep an eye out. I'm hoping, how I got onto this, I'm hoping that I am able to get out the type specific stuff prior to that. I don't know that I'm going to get them all out. I don't know. I don't think that it is going to be a finish everything on the 24th or 25th or whatever day around there it happens to be. But I do believe that it might be a very firm beginning to something. I don't believe we will make it to the term mid selection process that is coming up here in November. I don't believe that they're going to allow us to get to that, and I think September is going to be the time to pop it off. All right, wrap it up. I hope I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a very complicated topic. I know I got a little bit ranty towards the end, but I tend to do that sometimes, particularly when I got something happening. If you have questions or concerns, let me know down below. If you like what I'm doing, do all of the good things. Give me a like and a share. Hit the button. Hit the bell. All of the things that feed the algorithm for me. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you want to see, where I want you to go. We will be getting into the type-specific stuff now. We've talked about energy pulling. When we talk in the specific stuff, we will be talking about pulling energy through each specific point in each specific type. There are 32 of those, so it's going to take a little while to work through. We will be starting with Chris's. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. I love you. I hope everything works out fine. I hope that this was helpful. Till next time, this has been Pitt. Peace.